There are currents in the ocean. There are deep water cold currents. There are surface warm water currents, and these help drive the climate of the planet. In the Galapagos Islands, one can really experience this as one swims or snorkels in the water because you are swimming against the current, and underwater you can actually see the movement of particles in the current. If you happen to see a green sea turtle or marine iguana while snorkeling, you can get the experience that the two of you are swimming against the same currents. The Galapagos Islands represent a volcanic island chain, which more or less puts a wall in the middle of the eastern Pacific. And cold water currents from southern parts of the globe, which are flowing deep, hit this wall of volcanic islands and then come to the surface, and they bring nutrients with them. And this fosters an explosion of growth of marine organisms because of these nutrients, which would not otherwise have been available. Thanks to these nutrients, the algae, which are performing photosynthesis, they thrive, and this helps to form the foundation of many food chains. So there are certainly algae which float in the water of diverse classes, but here attached to the rocks, you can see a great diversity of algae here. There are green algae, there are red algae, there are brown algae. The different types of algae are important. So for example, marine iguanas depend very much on eating green algae and cannot feed on brown algae. The green sea turtles are green, and this doesn't refer to their outer color, but their adipose tissue, because of the amount of green algae which they consume. So the algae, they thrive, and this then provides a food source for many marine organisms, such as these minnows, which you see thriving. And because of the great explosion of fish numbers, this supports a large number of other animals which then feed on the fish, from sea lions to aquatic birds such as boobies and penguins and larger fish. When the planet's climate patterns changes from a year which is classified as La Nina to a year with El Nino, this affects the ocean currents. And as ocean currents change, these cold water currents bringing these nutrients shift. This has a devastating impact on marine food chains because they simply collapse. And one can observe many of the larger animals, whether this be marine iguanas or the populations of birds which feed on fish and are nesting on the Galapagos Islands. They can lose the majority of their numbers. Populations can decrease by 3/4 or more in El Nino years because of the collapse of this important food chain, which has its foundation in the currents of the ocean which reach the Galapagos Islands. Climate change then poses a threat to these food chains in that it is predicted that climate change will increase the frequency of El Nino events and their severity.